that's something that I really think about when we're presenting work now, having been on the other side, is like the power of editing and less is more, and figure out your story and come back to it over and over again because they haven't heard it before.
We're having a party today. This is a party. Look, today my guest isn't simply the author of The Soulful Art of Persuasion, co-founder of the Creative Alliance, host of the Soul and Science podcast, but you're also the co-founder and CEO of recently acquired ad agency Mekanism, who 4 months ago was purchased by Plus Company up in Quebec. So obviously my first question is, how's your French?
Canadian company. My French is terrible, but my English is fine.
All right, like this is...
I've never been to Quebec.
You've never been up there?
No, I go mainly to Toronto.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like this could be, you can shame me for this because this could be a silly question, and I may not get the purest, truest answer, but like you've always shot it with me straight. I don't see why you wouldn't now. How's it been? Like dream come true, bumps in the road. Like what can you share?
Well, so we've been independent. Mekanism has been independent for 17, 18 years. And I love that idea of being independent. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit. I never really thought about, and I have, 3 other co-founders. We talked a lot about, would we sell? What's the right time? Would we ever do it? And I never really thought about doing it. And then when the pandemic hit, and if you remember like those first couple months, it was like,
try not to.
Yeah, exactly. Try not to. But it was like, Jesus Christ, like what is going to happen? And that was really the first time we started kind of talking about how fragile, businesses can be and how quickly things that are out of your control can force you to pivot and change, your trajectory. It ended up being fine. Our business was healthy. There was no actual issue. It was more of a perception issue that the sky was falling. But it was the first time we started talking about it. And then coupled that with, we got about a $50 million revenue business, 200 something employees. We got to a point where without some investment, we weren't going, we have big aspirations. We want to triple in size. We want to get bigger, have more impact, work on more clients. And when you're independent and you're growing, we've never taken any outside investment. So it's all been organic growth. There's a point in time when, not that you're tapped out, but that you realize, well, if we do this for another 15 years to get to twice the size or, 3 times the size, that's too long of a run. And so that was sort of those two things. The pandemic happened and we want to grow faster and have, some help in our growth, which we've never had. That really was the 2 catalysts where we're like, all right, I think it's time to try something new. So that was your first question. That's the real deal, Holyfield, what happened.
Well, look, and I mean, partnerships can be brutal. They can be tough. And I remember meeting Tommy and, when I actually had a chance to see all of your partners, I'm like, oh shit, like this is how it's supposed to be. Like you guys all get along, you guys share values, but have different perspectives on different things. So like, what was the first conversation like? Was it like, hey, we should get some, because in some ways it's insurance, right? It's like an insurance policy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. The first, and we've always talked about it. Like, I think our partnership is, we're still, really good friends. We like each other. We certainly have issues. We certainly can get in each other's grills, like that happens in any relationship. But at the core, we like each other. And I know you've had partnerships in the past that have been good and bad, and you understand the challenges when you're work married to someone and what that's like. And so when we first started having those conversations, I'd say like two of us were like, yeah, let's do it. And two of us were like, absolutely never going to happen. And so that took a lot of uh, more conversations to kind of work through the pros and the cons and write down, take a piece of paper and write down your dream in 5 years, what you want to be doing, and then don't let anyone see it and then read it out loud. We did like a lot of exercises around what we each individually want out of life and where we are. And then we decided, well, it can't hurt to have some conversations and meet some people, right? That's
Look
how we
around.
start.
Let's look around. Let's see what
Let's
can
look around.
happen.
Let's see. And, we don't have to commit to anything. And then we looked at the sort of landscape, met with like 12, 13 companies. And I think then we found the right fit and then we all decided to do it. So that's kind of the process.
I mean, in some ways, you got to run an RFP, right? Like it was like opposite.
Oh, it was so awesome being on the other side of the table. Being like, I can't believe they presented it that way. I can't believe they actually brought boards in.
Wow. Well, was there anything that you learned actually about like your presenting style? Like that you're like, oh shit, we shouldn't do it this way or that way. Just seeing it flipped.
Well, I mean, things that you already know, but that oftentimes when you work in an agency or any business and you get like requests for proposal and they have like a laundry list of stuff they're asking for and you try to spit everything back, you need a storytelling is still critical in any form or fashion, whether you're doing it for a brand and work you put out into the world or you're doing it as a pitch. And you need to have a clear storyline with one clear takeaway and something a note that you hit over and over that makes you different from everybody else. And when you just kind of cram too much information in it all, you don't remember any of it. So that's something that I really think about when we're presenting work now, having been on the other side, is like the power of editing and less is more, and figure out your story and come back to it over and over again because they haven't heard it before, even though you've said it a million times, so you're sick of it. Yeah. You got to think about the audience as fresh and that they're seeing a lot of other work and that there's only one or two things they can remember.
So obviously you guys landed on Plus Company. Were they good storytellers? Were they good listeners? Did they distill it down to one idea? What was it?
Well, they just have a model that really spoke to me because it was important for us to keep our brand and identity that we built for so long. And there's like a traditional holding company where you have 100 agencies and you're buying market share. You're buying as many companies that are in marketing services as you can, and you add all those companies up, and then you make money off of adding all those companies up. You're buying revenue and market share, but they're not really. There's no real cross-selling happening. There's not a lot of like partnership in that model. And then the other model is, which some newer agency networks are doing, like S4 and a network named Depth, where they buy a bunch of companies and then it becomes like Media Monks or Depth, and you kind of lose the individual culture, the individual name over time. So that's like a new model, tech first, like, and you see some holding company models too now where they have 3 agencies and they smash them together. They're trying to clean it up and have fewer names with bigger revenue. And then there's getting private equity investment where there's no real strategic, partnership, because they're just say we put this much money in and then in 4 years we need this much money out. And then this Plus Company, I'm sure there's other models, but we didn't meet anyone that presented this model. Their model is to buy leading agencies in different markets and really invest in growing those brands. So like Mekanism in the US, they have Cassette in Canada, which is, much bigger than we are and massive. They basically, the idea is to have different lead agencies in different parts of the market and then build those up eventually maybe have, you know, a half a dozen or a dozen in different markets, and then build all those individual brands up, but try to have those brands complement each other and not be competitive and work together, and not have 100 companies, have fewer companies, but that own their sort of region or market. That's the model.
I mean, knowing how important your relationship is with your partners,
Yeah.
was there like a guy or a woman at Plus company that you're just like, yeah, they're one of us? Or was it more like, hey, we value creativity? I mean, like you said, it's the only model you heard that was unique to the others.
But yeah, so there's a CEO of Plus named Brett Marchand who um, I really liked from the beginning, and he was sort of the main person we met with. We met with several other people that were also great, but he's been on the client side, he's been on the business side, he's built agencies, and I just really liked him, and he had a good model, and he believes in culture, and he just seems really fair. And now I've been working with him since June, and for the first time in like 20 years, I have a boss, which is really strange. Like that took like a couple months to get used to.
I did notice
Uh,
the shift from independent agency to entrepreneurial agency, just a
yeah,
nuance, right?
that was nice of you to notice that. Yeah, we can't say independent anymore,
Yeah.
but that's really kind of what pushed it over the edge. And we all really like him, and he's great to work with. And we're doing good work, and it's still fun. Like I like it. I had to kind of get used to being entrepreneurial without being independent. Like that took a minute.
Yeah.
And now that I'm kind of through that piece, I'm really digging it.
Look, we said this was a party, so let's keep it that way, right? I mean, for those of you who don't know much about the work that Mechanism's doing, they're doing amazing work for Jose Cuervo, Peloton, OK Cupid, Stitch Fix, Alaska Airlines, and like, my point of like even bringing this up right now, Jason, is like if you put the whole experience on pause, you got this teenager that's 17 years old. It's
Yeah.
not just a bar mitzvah teenager, it's a teenager, right?
Yeah.
17 years you've been doing this. Like when you guys like look back at it all now, I mean, can you believe it? Like, can you believe like from where you started to where you guys are now?
I mean, that's a hard question for me to answer because um, I do practice, gratitude and being grateful, but I'm also like never happy. So I'm trying to like keep it in the party mindset, but I always am like, all right, what I'm always looking towards the like what's next? Like how are we going to change our model? What's the new thing? I don't spend enough reflection on, man, I can't believe like these bozos met and started something and it's really been successful. I don't do enough of that. And so my natural inclination and my reaction is like, oh man, we have so much
To
more
do.
we have to do. And so it's good to be reminded of that because I don't do enough of, no, we went through like the 2008 downturn, like a million different things that could have blown up the business since we've had it. And we've kind of survived all of that and thrived in a way. So thanks for reminding me to do that.
Well, let's go like maybe let's go a step deeper on this puppy then. So like as you think back, like were there a few moments along the way where like maybe there was an account one or like a specific hire or like an opening of a new office where there's a moment where like holy shit, like we're resonating, like this is resonating, like are there
I
a
mean,
couple moments?
yeah, kind of happened early on. We did this big campaign for Microsoft Windows. I think it was like 2006 or 2007. It was our first like massive, big, huge client, and it ended up doing really well, and that really changed the course of the company. But we started. Well, I think one thing that's helped make us successful is we've reinvented the company like four times, and so there's all those quotes that everybody says about if you're not growing, you're dying. If you aren't thinking with a challenger mindset, you'll get complacent. All those things are true because we started as a digital production company And then we sort of like hit on this, like, oh, we can do like viral marketing. We almost became like specialists in viral marketing and influencer marketing early on. And then in 2010, I remember this because it was Cinco de Mayo 2010. That's why I remember the date. We kind of changed our website from talking about ourselves as a production company to talking about ourselves as an agency. We did it in a 24-hour period. Like, obviously we redesigned it and built it, but then we just switched and launched it. And I remember the year we launched it and went from production to agency. And the reason why we did that is, if you're further up the conversation with the
A
CMO.
lot of knuckleheads like me telling you, hey, why can't we do it this way? Right.
Yeah, yeah. But if you're further up the work stream, we had a good, healthy amount of employees. You're doing project to project work. It's super stressful, and you're like, oh man, if we don't get this project, we're kind of screwed. And you got payroll, and so the way to pivot was, we said, well, we're going to become an agency. We're going to get agency of record. We're going to be farther up the food chain and not down at the end of the line where you execute, make the stuff, because anything can happen at that point. But if you're further up, you're getting paid for strategy and thinking and ideas, and execution's still important, of course. But we made that big change, and that was a lot of like hand wringing and getting all the founders on board. And when we did that, we lost $10 million in business the year that we did that.
Wow.
Because we were kind of known as one thing, and we were trying to be known for something else, but we also had to hire like brand people and strategy people and build that. Because I always believe in the philosophy, which has served me well, maybe by luck, but you plant a flag on where you want to go, even if you're not there. And then everyone will rally around getting there because you put it out into the world and you said it. And so if we waited until we had everything we needed to be an agency to then call ourselves an agency, maybe it wouldn't have happened. So I believe in, like, let's just say this and then build it. And it's a bit dangerous, but that first year when we made that switch, we were down like $10 million, and we had to build it back up and then surpass it. So it's almost like, 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward. And then before you know it, it's, 3 steps forward, 1 step backward, and you're starting to pass where you were.
I feel like it's always that way on anything there's a potential for exponential growth. It's like a catapult, right? Like the further you pull it down, the lower you're actually willing to go, the more torque it's going to fly up and off you go. And I also imagine,
or it snaps and breaks.
Well, okay, this is a party. This is a party.
I know. I'm just saying, though, those are the 2 options, right? Like, it goes past it, or you pull it too much and it breaks.
I'm an optimist. Let's say the positive.
Okay, fine. Right? Yeah, it's like a catapult.
So
it doesn't break.
It never breaks. But I also imagine, like, the 10 million that you lost, like, I mean, who was paying you but agencies?
Yeah, it was. We were working with agencies and clients, but we were doing like direct production to clients. But yeah, so we lost like half of the business was the agency business, which we lost.
So I think one of my favorite, I'll admit that the thing I miss most about agency life, because technically I'm not an agency anymore. I'm not in that game, but I miss presenting work. I miss being in that room, the room where it happens, right? Where you're pitching for the first time, or you're just presenting a new concept. It's time. Can you share? I mean, it is a very.
Why do you miss that? Out of curiosity.
Because I love new ideas. I love, if you've done the work, if you've done the detective work, if you're prepared, and you're like, wow, today is the day. We've been all working towards, like, chiseling away at this opportunity to bring a point of view that doesn't live yet. Like, and by the way, this, and if you're not in agency life, it is so hard just to get an idea out into a boardroom. That alone is hard, just to have work survive. But when you finally get a chance to present an idea in a room, then it's like, yeah, it's still subjective. And I know we're going to talk about soul and science here in a bit, but like it's still a subjective moment on like why this idea versus that idea.
Yeah.
And so is there like a moment that you can remember that was like, okay, we all know this is the right idea for this client. They want to take this other idea, right? Which is probably the safer idea. Maybe not, but
Yeah.
probably the safer idea. Like, can you share a courageous moment from a boardroom or a pitch that you've had where you've actually convinced the client to go with it?
We did this campaign for 20th Century Fox for Planet of the Apes. Remember those new Planet of the Apes movies that came out?
Mm-hmm.
And it was Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And we were meeting with the heads of marketing at that company. And there was this kind of marketing idea of like creating this campaign around the apes are getting smarter. And we did all these like videos that looked like found footage that apes were actually getting smarter. And one of them was an ape shooting a AK-47 in the wilderness, and that apes can now like handle guns, just like in the movie. It was like a parody, sort of riding shotgun to the movie, but it was like all this found footage, so it looked real. And they weren't sure they wanted to do it, and Tommy and I were presenting it, and we were like, what do you have to lose? Like, people either start passing it around and believe it and they think it's genius marketing when they tie it back to the movie, or if not, the it doesn't work and the concept's kind of that. This was before the whole like now test and learn and put hundreds of pieces of content out there and see what flies. And we just kept saying like, try it, like what do you have to lose, like let's do it, blah, blah. And eventually they sort of like we were so persistent on that this was the right idea, and we were almost so annoying that they said, all right, if you don't ask me one more time, let's just do it. So and then it took off and became really big, and the movie was super successful. But I remember like that persistence. We wouldn't we wouldn't come back with something else. It was just like, this is it. Like, you got to do it. Like, this is going to work. Like, you got to do it. And if it doesn't work, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I remember we were just like so persistent on that they ended up doing it. It was probably like when you go to, you probably buy your cars online now. How'd you buy your last car?
Me?
Did you go to a lot?
I started online,
Yeah.
but I kind of knew what I wanted,
Yeah.
So for me, there was only a few options. And to be like, if I'm brutally honest, I found a guy he'll negotiate on your behalf.
No way.
Yes. Is that a great business idea?
That is so smart.
Right. So
I didn't even know those guys exist.
And so he took a percentage, but I'm like, you know what? I want to deal with this like so little. Here's what I want. I know what I want. And then he scoured the state to look for that vehicle, and then he took a percentage. And he used
found it.
Oh yeah, he found it. It was an awesome experience. But that's the Cars podcast, not the Courageous podcast.
No, I know, but so the point was like, I still go, I don't know this dude and I haven't heard of that business, but it's freaking great. I still go to like, all right, I'll go to the dealer and my lease is up. I want a new car. I got to get a car today. And, I feel like that's kind of the old school model that we were doing for that movie, was like, just keep talking until you annoy them so much they just say yes. And so that was the but I haven't had a lot of success besides that, because I sort of, in the new world order today, it's like it's about getting to a place where you're both, you almost have them think that it's their idea. And that's another way, like, you can persuade them into like buying your idea. You said something in our last meeting that really led to this thought. Yeah. It led to this concept, led to this idea. And you're sort of doing it more subtly than I think we used to do it in the past.
It's co-creation now, right?
It's co-creation, which I like, because instead of like waiting a month and coming back with the answer for a client, it's much more iterative, and you're doing tissue sessions along the way. and you're just like flipping work faster. And there's kind of pluses and minuses to that new style, but it is co-creation and collaborating with the client versus we've got some magic formula and we'll come back when we've like mixtured it correctly.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
will, in preparation for our chat, which it's important, even though we're friends, that you should know that I do prepare for our dialogue.
I'm
You know,
sure you do.
I went and listened to some of the Jay Livingston interview,
Yeah.
right? CMO Shake Shack, and he had said,
Okay.
my goal has always been to be instincts led, but data supported.
Yeah.
Um, and you guys are all about soul and science now. That's the mechanism way. And I want to talk about even coming up with that. But
Yeah.
the instincts part, this is where I get like, and this is not a knock on Jay in any way, shape, or form. I'm just curious because when he says it like that, instincts would fall under soul and data would fall under science. But isn't instincts an amalgamation of experiences? And in some ways, isn't that science still? Isn't that data?
I've never thought about it that way, but yes, your experience has to be data because if I made this choice, it led to this outcome. If I made this other choice, it led to this outcome. That's still data that your brain has processed and filtered, right? So yes, but I think I view soul as leading with your heart. Like what do I feel is the thing to do, and then science is leading with your head. Like consumers are telling me this is important to them, or like I interviewed the one of the heads of creative at Liquid Death, and the science for Liquid Death told them it's a terrible name and no one's going to buy your product because it has the word death in it. And if they had listened to the science, they would have not be where they are now. But they listened to their soul and their gut and their instinct, and that led them to a product. That's why that product's so surprising and so dangerous and mysterious. And it's built to look like beer, but it's water. And like everything they did was against the grain of what you would think of, a bottled water brand being. And that is why it was so successful and so different and so unique and dangerous. But I'm not sure if I answered your question.
No, I think it's just sort of reiterating that or reaffirming that it's still a tricky game. They're like dials on an amp on when to amp up your
Yeah.
head versus your heart, right? I mean, and like which is going to win out. And I do think from a positioning standpoint, it opens you up to all sorts of. I mean, you just want to get to the conversation, right? Like you want to get to the conversation and you want to get to the table with the opportunity to be like, here's where we should be leading with our head. Here's when we should be leading with the science. Um, although, and again, this was not to knock Jay at
Yeah.
Shake Shack because I think what he's saying is he wants to be heart driven, but there's sometimes when the head wins out and the data says what the data says. Are you seeing that more from your clients now? Are you seeing like how often is data now? It's I just worry that data is like the safe route still. Like if I lead with the data, I can't get fired. Maybe that's the courageous thing of me to say.
I think I think data you have we use data now to sell our work, where the pestering in the past or the not taking no for an answer worked. The way you do it now is find insights from the data from the audience, or you test something and that, if you're pitching three platforms or three ideas, you do some consumer testing and you're like, this one scored an X and this one scored a Y. We like this one. So I think data is more and more important now. And that's why we pivoted again during the pandemic to position the company under soul and science, where we were pretty much a company only based on soul, like only based on, hey, that's a good idea. We all think it's a good idea. Let's go sell that idea. And then adding the science part with insights and analytics and performance testing. That piece, again, we didn't really have it, but we said it and then we built it because we said it. And so that's sort of my philosophy of always not always saying where you're going and then you figure out how to get there. And that today's world, it was smart that we did that because today's world, it is all about creativity and performance, and everything has to be measured. Like that's the world we live in. Everything is measured and everything has to show results. And, CMOs have to create day-to-day shareholder value and KPIs and increases and sales and downloads and customer acquisition numbers. And at the same time, they have to create quarter to quarter, year to year brand equity. They have to do like both of those things at the same time, which is very hard to do.
Is it slightly soul crushing that that's the case now? Or is that just, I mean, like you're in it every day. So
yes, it's slightly. I mean, it's where it's understandable that that's where the market is today, because and it was all accelerated. I go back to the pandemic. It was all accelerated during the pandemic on like, hey, if I spend money, this is going to work. Like, are people out there? What's happening in the world? And everything got fast forwarded and sped up. And I don't think it's soul crushing because there's still you still need big ideas, and nothing will beat a big idea, because a big idea will travel and you'll get the numbers from it and you'll get the results. So big ideas are still maybe even more important than ever, but having to back everything up and support everything and test everything and track everything, you kind of get used to it and it makes sense. But if we didn't still have the power of the big idea to overwhelm all the data, I think I'd be depressed.
well, it's still a sandwich, right? I mean, like there's data. I like how you said there's data at the top and there's at the beginning and there's data at the
At
end,
the
and in the
back
middle
end,
is
yeah,
the good
the
stuff.
middle's the meat.
Is the meat, right?
You still need, like, ideas are still endangered.
That's the protein, right? That's
You
the
still
protein.
need the protein. You can't just test the bread.
Especially if it's stale. Oh, this is a terrible.
Stale bread or
We should
Wonder
cut this
bread.
part out. This is what happened? We went
I
into
don't know, man. You
sandwich
started with
puns.
a catapult. Now we're talking about a toast.
I do like the soul and science sort of lead horse for you guys, and
Yeah,
I do find it interesting that ad agencies aren't great at advertising their own agencies, and we do this for our clients and we're not so good at doing it for ourselves. And the advertising looks different, right? It's not like we're going to buy a full page out in the Wall Street Journal,
right,
or
right.
but like, do you feel like letting the universe know that soul and science is at your average, is that the advertising lead now, and how's it doing so far?
It's going really well. But yeah, that's what we put in. Like, we did performance plans for everything. We put in how to optimize work. It just makes sense. Like, I think shifting an entire company that's driven by creativity into also we're driven by performance and data. It took about a year to sort of like get people to wrap their head around it and understand it.
It's almost as if the first ad campaign's internal, right?
I like that. Yeah, yeah,
Right,
that's a
and
good way to
then
look at it.
once they're on board, then okay, we're taking it to the world. But I like your take on, like, it's if you build it, they will come, or if you say it, then you build it. If you build it, they will come, right? And so you're putting stuff into the world and you're
I mean,
manifesting it.
I love what you said about, like, isn't going on instinct a form of data, because you're relying on what experience you've had based on decisions you've made in the past. And that has pushed me to always do this, like, you know, Joe Namath saying, we're gonna win the Super Bowl when everyone was against you. Like, I just believe in that, because it's been effective for me.
Yeah.
And waiting has not been effective for me. You're too slow, or you miss the boat, or you're behind, or you scrap it because you never got everyone to change the course. But when you say it becomes true, in my experience.
How courageous is this move? I mean, if you look at it, you have a new like positioning, soul and science.
Yeah.
You have a boss. We don't have to go too deep into that. We can keep it as a party. But it seems like it's been a fairly courageous year for you.
I'd say so. We also merged with another agency that was in the network. So that was a whole other work stream too. But yeah, it's been a lift, I would say.
And how's your travel schedule?
Pretty good. Like for fun?
Oh, well, we could talk
or
about
for work.
I meant for work, but we can do both if you want.
It's picking up a lot, actually. I kind of dig it though.
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, we kind of like hibernated. We got plugged into the wall for 2 years. It's I'm like you. I like getting out there.
But it's hard to like once you get back in the swing of it, you like it. But that like it's sort of like you got so used to not going out at night during the pandemic. It's the same thing with like travel. Like you got so used to not doing it that you're like, oh, I just want to stay home now. I don't want to fly. I just want to stay home. It's such a pain in the ass. And then you kind of do it and you're like, oh, I see the value in it again. You travel a lot?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I love it. I mean, to me, I don't see that any different than science in your soul and science because I'm a people watcher. I'm an observationalist. I love like, you read something in the news, which I'm always really skeptical of. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. It's like a game of telephone and it's been watered down. But when you get to go see a place that you probably wouldn't go unless work brought you there, like I spoke in North Dakota and people are like, you're excited about that? I'm like, oh my gosh, I was excited about that. Couldn't been more excited about that. Just because it's just like, if you're from North Dakota and you never left, why? I want to know. Like, tell me what life is like here. I understand there's not a lot of sun. I can see that you're pale, but give me more, So
where did you speak in North Dakota?
Fargo.
No way.
Oh, yes.
Dude, that's sick. Who was the company?
It was an American Advertising Federation chapter.
Okay.
And again, it was to me, this one was not about the money. It was like, I wanted to go see what that part of the world was like. And, and by the way, I did think it's telling that, I kid you not, they picked me up from the airport. And the first thing they did is they took me over the border to Minnesota. There's a data point in that. The first thing they did was take me out of the state.
Why?
The reason they did it was because there was like $1 draft beer place that they wanted to take me to. Okay, but I still thought it was interesting. Like, I just got here, and the first thing we're doing is
going to another state,
crossing over a border. Personally, you got some big news coming up, right?
What's that?
Aren't you getting married soon?
Oh yeah, I'm getting married in June.
You excited?
I knew what you were talking about. I was just being dumb. Yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be great. Yeah.
Where are you doing it?
Super pumped. Jamaica.
Why Jamaica?
We've just been a couple times and we love it there. It's great.
A lot of change. It's awesome. It's awesome to watch. I'm a huge Mekanism fan. It's like it's fun to like root from you from afar. Miss seeing you, buddy. It's like
likewise, man.
Not good. I got to come see you in New York and keep doing what you're doing, and let's obviously stay in touch.
All right, bro. Thanks for having me.
You got it, Jay.
Later.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Courageous Podcast. If you enjoy the show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts so more people can find us. See you again next week.